Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching Eagle News International on tonight's headlines. Amid the aftermath of Typhoon Doksuri, Secretary of National Defense Gilbert Teodoro visits Lalo Airport, a vital base for joint Filipino and U.S. military aid efforts. A gathering in New York City orchestrated by a prominent online influencer spiraled into chaos, resulting in clashes and injuries. Senate, known for his extensive following on platforms like Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram, invited his fans to assemble in Lower Manhattan for a live-streamed event promising gift giveaways, notably including the sought-after PlayStation 5 game consoles. In a dramatic and gripping visual spectacle, a Ukrainian sea drone launches a striking blow against a Russian warship within the Black Sea. The Department of Health issued a fresh appeal urging the public to undergo vaccination and booster shots to bolster immunity against COVID-19. This call comes in response to the discovery of 2 new cases of the EG.5 subvariant of Omicron, as revealed by the latest DOH biosurveillance report. A gathering in New York City, orchestrated by a prominent online influencer, spiraled into chaos, resulting in clashes and injuries. Authorities have revealed that what began as an eventful meetup escalated into a violent episode that necessitated a massive police response. The incident was ignited by a social media call to action posted by 21-year-old Kai Sennett on his Instagram account. Sennett, known for his extensive following on platforms like Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram, invited his fans to assemble in Lower Manhattan for a live-streamed event promising gift giveaways, notably including the sought-after PlayStation 5 game consoles. The response was overwhelming, with thousands of enthusiastic young individuals, estimated to be around 2,000, converging rapidly on Union Square and the adjoining streets, all eager to catch a glimpse of Senate in person. However, the atmosphere took an unexpected turn as tensions escalated amidst the growing crowd.
Individuals in the park began to commit acts of violence towards the police and the public. There was a construction site within the Union Square Park, and people broke into the park and they began to throw articles that belonged to the construction site.
These objects were directed not only at fellow attendees, but also at law enforcement officers who swiftly arrived on the scene in significant numbers.
We had people walking around with shovels, axes, and other tools from the construction trade. And additionally, individuals were also lighting fireworks, and they were throwing them towards the police. They were throwing them towards each other. The influencer, we were able to eventually get him out of the park and remove him for safety reasons. After numerous warnings and after being assailed, hit with rocks and bottles and other debris, we started to make arrests to clear out the park. The total number of arrests is still being tallied at this point, and we're still doing evaluations for some of our members. We did have members that sustained some injuries out here. I personally observed young people walking out with their heads bleeding from their heads, bleeding from on their faces. I personally observed young people having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, asthma attacks. There was multiple, people were suffering out here. It was a lot of people. It was uncontrolled. It took us a while to get it under control, and a lot of young people got hurt.
Amid the aftermath of Typhoon Doksuri, Secretary of National Defense Gilbert Teodoro visits Lalo Airport, a vital base for joint Filipino and U.S. military aid efforts. This collaboration, rooted in the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, allows U.S. forces to operate and store equipment in strategic Philippine locations. Teodoro defends the arrangement, shrugging off concerns about geographical proximity to Taiwan.
You know what? If its proximity to Taiwan is a geographical accident and other people are paranoid about it, it's their problem. For me, my concern is Philippine national interest and national security. So the paranoia of other people, maybe rightly so, is taken into consideration, but national security is paramount, in this country. And we have reassured other countries in the world that the Philippines is not allowed by the Constitution to wage war or any offensive action as an instrument of national policy. Now, if they do not take their word, our word for it, then how can we trust each other? We do not question the bases being built by other countries except when they are being built on contested territory. This is Philippine territory and it is our business what we do here, just as long as it is for Philippine interests. And here, the United States and us converge in our intended use for this. And it is not any other country's business to question what we do here.
As disaster response intertwines with broader security discussions, his resolute stance echoes the critical role of this alliance. Meanwhile, in a candid interview, Taiwan's Foreign Minister Joseph Wu issued a stark warning about the potential consequences of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. Wu underscored that such an incursion would send shockwaves through the international landscape, citing the island's pivotal role in both the semiconductor industry and vital global shipping routes.
What we need to do is to explain to the international community that if there's any conflict involving Taiwan, it's going to have a disastrous result for the rest of the world. About 50% of the global goods are going through the Taiwan Strait. For the very highest end of semiconductor chips, Taiwan produces about 90% of the total international output. So think about the disruption of the supply chain.
Since President Xi's election in 2016, diplomatic relations between Taiwan and China have deteriorated significantly, marked by Beijing's steadfast refusal to engage with Taipei. Over the past year, global focus on the tensions across the Taiwan Strait has surged, a trend that Foreign Minister Wu attributes in part to the international spotlight on Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
When the war started, many people, just like the people here in Taiwan, are looking at the war taking place in front of them. They are watching the videos of the war destructions and atrocities of this democracy called Ukraine. And then they look around and say, where is the next possible target of an authoritarian expansionism? And then they realize that Taiwan might be the next one. And they look at the Chinese track record of threatening Taiwan. I would speculate that the Chinese government will try and refrain from hard military exercises around Taiwan to intimidate the Taiwanese people, because the result of the election may not be what China wants. But if you look at what China has been doing these couple of years, I think they are getting more sophisticated in the disinformation campaign and cognitive warfare, or doing the infiltration into the Taiwanese society, working with crime elements or small NGOs here in Taiwan. What we would expect is that the Chinese government will continue to do all this.
Taiwan is closely monitoring China's domestic political landscape with a sense of wariness, particularly following the unexpected dismissal of Qin Gang from his role as foreign minister.
We look at the development in China with caution. It's not just Qin Gang who has been sacked. There's a whole array of other leaders in China, including military leaders, who are sacked. And therefore, China seems to be going through some major internal changes, and we need to watch very carefully. The growth rate is not as good as the government would expect, and the foreign investment going into China is falling as well. So with all this, we are seeing an internal problem, and compounded with a political struggle that we have seen as the removal of Qin Gang and other senior military leaders. This is an environment that we need to be very careful in doing our own observations, and we do not want to become a scapegoat of China's trouble.
A tense maritime encounter unfolded nearly Saturday in the Kerch Strait as reports emerged of a Russian tanker falling victim to Ukrainian drone strikes. The repercussions of this incident temporarily reverberated across the strategic bridge connecting Crimea to Russia, disrupting traffic flow in the region. According to Russian media, the targeted tanker sustained damage from the attack, leading to a swift response by 2 tugboats dispatched to the scene. The vessel at the center of this incident, identified as the chemical tanker SIG by the Moscow Times, carried an additional layer of significance due to its connection with U.S. sanctions. The tanker's history involves supplying jet fuel to Russian forces in support of President Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria. Vladimir Rogov, an official in the southern Ukrainian region of Zaporizhia, revealed that several crew members suffered injuries caused by the shattered glass during the attack. As a consequence of the event, traffic on the bridge, serving as a vital link between the Moscow-annexed Crimean Peninsula and Russia, was brought to a standstill for approximately 3 hours. The Russian Defense Ministry on Friday said it had downed 13 drones over the Crimean Peninsula without recording casualties or damage. As Ukraine's counteroffensive stalls in the east, the country is turning to unconventional tactics against Russia. Small drones, initially targeting downtown Moscow and now armed with explosives, showcase this strategic shift. This innovation challenges traditional warfare, reflecting the evolving nature of conflict shaped by technological advances. Meanwhile, the urgent issue of famine and conflict-induced global food insecurity took center stage at a Security Council meeting held in New York. The UN Famine Prevention and Response Coordinator, Rina Jelani, delivered a resounding message, urging the international community to address this critical concern.
Threat of famine, people starving slowly to death, must be a red line. And yet the number of people suffering from acute food insecurity reached 250 million last year. This is the highest recorded in recent years. Of these people, some 376,000 were facing famine-like conditions in 7 countries. Another 35 million people were on the edge. As in all crisis situations, women and children are the most impacted. Armed conflict destroys food systems, shatters livelihoods, and drives people from their homes, leaving many extremely vulnerable and hungry. Sometimes these impacts are byproducts of war, but all too often they are inflicted deliberately and unlawfully, with hunger utilized as a tactic of war.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken of the United States, which currently holds the presidency of the Security Council, echoed the urgency of the matter. However, amidst the discussion, the air of tension hung at the UN as the Secretary of State chastised Russia's withdrawal from the Black Sea grain agreement.
Hunger must not be weaponized. Every member of this council, every member of the United Nations should tell Moscow, enough. Enough using the Black Sea as blackmail. Enough treating the world's most vulnerable people as leverage. Enough of this unjustified, unconscionable war.
Russia have recently extended a gesture of free grain to 6 African leaders during their visit, countered by asserting that the U.S. and Western nations were disproportionately channeling resources into arming Ukraine rather than prioritizing support for regions in the global south.
Со своей стороны, Россия готова делиться и с африканскими государствами, и со всеми другими заинтересованными развивающимися странами экспертизой в области сельхозпроизводства, оказывать содействие во внедрении передовых технологий. В отличие от западных неоколониалистов, мы заинтересованы в формировании более справедливой системы распределения ресурсов, в том, чтобы развивающиеся государства не были вечно посажены на иглу, обставленные политическими условиями гуманитарной помощи Запада, а по сути примитивного шантажа.
Former President Donald Trump emerged before fervent supporters in the deeply conservative state of Alabama, categorically rejecting the latest federal indictment as an illegal and unconstitutional travesty. The charges, part of a sweeping conspiracy case related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election, were dismissed by Trump as ridiculous.
Because every time they file an indictment, We go way up in the polls. We need one more indictment to close out this election. One more indictment, and this election is closed out. Nobody has even a chance. So this ridiculous indictment against us, it's not a legal case. It's an act of desperation by a failed and disgraced crooked Joe Biden and his radical left thugs to preserve their grip on power. They want to do anything they can to preserve it, and we are in their way because we want to bring our country back. We want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. In the end, they're not after me, they're after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never leave. I will never let them do that.
Mr. Trump's dominance was evident in national polling averages, with a commanding lead of 39 points over his closest competitor, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, according to 538 on Friday. This formidable advantage is unprecedented in modern primary contests. However, as he embarks on a historic bid to reclaim the White House, Mr. Trump faces a daunting reality. He is entangled in 78 felony charges across 3 separate criminal investigations. Scheduled for trial in New York in March of the following year, Mr. Trump confronts allegations related to alleged misrepresentations of hush money payments to a porn star. A subsequent trial is set for May, focusing on his handling of national security secrets. Thursday saw Trump in court for a preliminary hearing regarding alleged election interference. Furthermore, state prosecutors are expected to soon bring charges against him in a separate case concerning similar allegations in Georgia, a southern state. A devastating turn of weather events has struck northeastern and central Slovenia as well as southern Austria, resulting in catastrophic floods and landslides. This meteorological upheaval, characterized by a month's worth of rain within a mere 24 hours, has claimed the lives of 3 individuals, according to authorities' grim reports. In Slovenia, the situation took a dire turn as flood alert sirens echoed through the capital, Ljubljana, alongside Maribor and Celje. The nation's environment agency escalated to its response to the highest level, issuing a red alert in response to the relentless downpours that commenced overnight. Tragedy struck with the discovery of 2 foreign tourist bodies in a mountainous region, while another woman was found in an inundated area, as conveyed by police spokeswoman Maya Adlecik in a statement to AFP news agency. Across the border in Austria, no injuries were reported, yet the calamity's imprint was felt. Waters from surging rivers dealt a blow to bridges and residences. Waters from surging rivers dealt a blow to bridges and residences, and the Administration for Civil Protection and Disaster Relief recorded a staggering number of over 1,000 weather-related incidents in Slovenia over a span of merely 12 hours. Furthermore, the impact is predicted to reverberate beyond national borders, as the heavy rains are anticipated to extend into neighboring Croatia and Bosnia further south. The distressing sequence of events echoes a growing global trend, where extreme weather conditions are increasingly recognized as being fueled, at least in part, by the ominous specter of climate change. The consequences of this environmental shift have been deeply felt, as record temperatures and devastating fires have swept across European countries, including Greece and Spain, this summer. More unexpected turn of events has unfolded, this time at the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea, as American and British Scouts have made the difficult decision to withdraw from the event due to soaring temperatures. The gathering, already grappling with extreme heat, now faces additional challenges, as concerns over campsite conditions also come to the forefront. The Jamboree, which has attracted approximately 43,000 participants to North Jewel province has been marred by an intense heat wave that has left hundreds of scouts unwell. Responding to this health crisis, Seoul has dispatched military doctors and committed to a full-scale effort to salvage the event. Despite assurances from the government, including promises of air-conditioned buses and freezer trucks, the U.S. delegation announced their withdrawal on Saturday. This announcement closely follows a similar decision by the British Scouts, who departed on Friday. Both nations cited the hazardous combination of extreme weather and suboptimal site conditions as the driving factors behind their choices. As temperatures soared to unprecedented heights in July of this year, solidifying its position as the hottest month ever recorded, a stark reminder of the urgency of climate action gripped the world. With COP28 fast approaching, slated to be held in Dubai from the 30th of November to the 12th of December, the global community stands at a critical juncture in addressing the climate crisis. Now, against this backdrop, UN officials have raised their voices, emphasizing the imperative to intensify climate action and uphold climate justice. Joining us from the heart of London, correspondent Sarah Alcantara brings us the latest developments and perspectives on this critical global issue. Sarah, over to you.
UN and EU monitors stated that July is set to be the hottest month recorded in history and likely unprecedented for thousands of years, warning that this was a taste of the world's climate future.
Climate change is here, it is terrifying, and it is just the beginning. The era of global warming has ended, the era of global boiling has arrived. The air is unbreathable, the heat is unbearable, and the level of fossil fuel profits and climate inaction is unacceptable. No more greenwashing, no more deception, and no more abusive distortion of antitrust laws to sabotage net zero alliances.
Searing heat intensified by global warming has baked parts of Europe, Asia, and North America this month, combining with wildfires that have scorched across Canada and parts of southern Europe.
The first week of July, starting from 4th to 7th, could be considered as the warmest period or the warmest week ever recorded.
Many countries in the Northern Hemisphere are now experiencing extreme heat, driven by the El Nino weather pattern and climate change. 2 weeks ago, we saw the hottest day on record. Extreme heat takes the greatest toll on those least able to manage its consequences, such as older people, infants and children, and the poor and homeless. It also puts increased pressure on health systems.
It really is completely unprecedented, this kind of reduction in sea ice that we've seen around the Antarctic. The Antarctic region is normally thought of being relatively stable. It's much colder than the Arctic. We're used to seeing, these big reductions in sea ice in the Arctic, but not in the Antarctic.
The WMO predicts it is more likely than not that global temperature will temporarily rise 1.5 Celsius above the pre-industrial benchmark for at least one of the next 5 years.
Almost certain likelihood that one of the next 5 years will be the warmest on record, and a 66% chance, so more likely than not, of temporarily exceeding the 1.5 degree above pre-industrial for at least one of the 5 years.
Temperature records have tumbled across the northern hemisphere this month, with many regions sweltering through weeks of unrelenting heat.
These are not your normal weather systems of the past. They have arrived as a consequence of climate change. You are losing the North Pole ice, and that is reinforcing that mechanism. It will continue, and it will continue for some time. You have to reverse it, you have to do climate repair to change it. So it is global warming and is going to continue for some time.
On our current course, the average temperature increase by the end of this century is predicted to be 3 degrees Celsius if nothing changes, and our ecosystems, our air, our food, our water and human life itself would be unrecognizable.
Countries like USA, China, and Greece have taken necessary measures to bolster heat-related methods for their citizens. I am Sara Alcantara, London Bureau. Stay alert, for we live in extraordinary times.
And as we delve into the depths of a pivotal moment in our shared journey on this planet, August 2nd marks Earth Overshoot Day, a date that has captured global attention and sparked conversations about our ecological balance. Joining us now from our London Bureau is our correspondent JD Season, who will shed further light on the implications of this occasion.
In a symbolic milestone, humanity has surpassed its planetary resource allowance for the year, marking the occasion as Earth Overshoot Day. This day, which falls on August 2nd of this year, serves as a significant wake-up call indicating that from January 1st until now, the Earth has become depleted of its natural resources faster than it can regenerate. Mathis Waka-Najol, the co-founder of Global Footprint Network, emphasized the importance of Earth Overshoot Day.
Overshoot Day is a quite simple concept. It means that from January 1st to Overshoot Day, which is August 2nd this year, humanity has used as much from nature as the planet can regenerate in the entire year.
The concept of Earth Overshoot Day is relatively simple. It quantifies the extent to which humanity has exploited nature by comparing our ecological footprint to the Earth's biocapacity. In essence, it calculates how much the planet can regenerate in a given year.
So we can calculate how much can be regenerated in a given country and then add it up to the world. We can also calculate it on the consumption side. We can look at how much is being consumed in each country. There are also statistics that show like how many potatoes are being consumed, how much milk is being consumed, how much meat is being consumed. And so you can total it up and say how much capacity is necessary to provide these services.
The implications of Earth Overshoot Day are far-reaching, with each country facing unique challenges based on its ecological footprint.
Like in Italy, for example, where it takes 4 Italy to support Italy. If those countries don't shape up their economies, they'll be in a very difficult position. And you cannot change your economy from one day to the next. You need to think ahead.
The Global Footprint Network has been collaborating with countries worldwide to promote sustainable development and reduce ecological footprints.
Last year, we launched Earth Overshoot Day with Ecuador. This year, we're launching Earth Overshoot Day with the Republic of Slovenia. They are one of, I think, the only country in the EU at this point that have a specific footprint reduction target in their development plan overall.
With Earth Overshoot Day acting as a reality check, it is essential for individuals, communities, and nations to take collective action to preserve the planet's resources.
We mark a number of days in the year, national holidays, etc. Probably the most meaningful one is Earth Overshoot Day, because it reflects a reality. It's not just an artificial day.
Awareness and conscious consumption can lead the way to more sustainable practices, mitigating the impact of human activities on the environment. And it's not just an artificial day. It serves as a stark reminder of our responsibility towards the planet. We must all work together to ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, this is JD Season reminding you to stay alert because we live in extraordinary times.
Secondhand smoke is a major public health threat, killing an estimated 1.3 million people each year. This deadly form of air pollution can cause heart disease, stroke, respiratory diseases, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. The good news is that secondhand smoke is preventable. Countries around the world are taking steps to protect their citizens from this hazard. And Mauritius is one of the leaders in tobacco control. Our correspondent Roselle Feria reports from Washington, D.C.
The new WHO report on the global tobacco epidemic focuses on protecting the public from secondhand smoke. It reveals that 40% of countries now have completely smoke-free indoor public places.
Here in Mauritius, we have different laws that have been implemented for cigarette smoking. Recently, we have the law which was implemented for a restriction of smoking in public areas. And personally, I think this is a very good law because we are not only protecting those who are smoking, but also we are protecting for those who are not smoking, which we call passive smoking.
It also rates country progress in tobacco control. The report shows that 2 more countries, Mauritius and the Netherlands, have achieved best practice level in all empowered tobacco control measures.
Mauritius is one of the countries, few countries in the world that have implemented all of these empower policies at the highest level, what we call the best practice level.
An achievement that only Brazil and Turkey had accomplished until today. One policy in the set of effective tobacco control measures is having smoke-free public spaces.
The package, which contains the evidence-based interventions to really save lives. I mean, complete bans on smoking in all public places and workplaces, offering help to quit, so the whole cessation, comprehensive cessation treatment, warnings about the dangers of tobacco use, including campaigns, complete bans on all forms of advertising, promotion, sponsorship, and also very effective, but yet still underutilized, is increasing taxes and prices.
WHO says smoke-free environments help people breathe clean air, shield the public from deadly secondhand smoke, motivate people to quit, denormalize smoking, and help prevent young people from ever starting to smoke or use e-cigarettes. Around 1.3 million people die from secondhand smoke every year. WHO says all of these deaths are entirely preventable.
One of the greatest challenges in enacting tobacco control measures is there is often a strong pushback from the tobacco industry to either prevent these measures from being enacted or really undermine these measures. So this report gives a clear outline around what's important within each measure that allows countries to reach best practice at every measure and really enact strong tobacco control laws that can't be undermined by the industry.
People exposed to secondhand tobacco smoke are at risk of dying from heart disease, stroke, respiratory diseases, type 2 diabetes, and cancers.
Secondhand smoke exposure is basically to people who are getting exposed from tobacco smoke, and this leads to a number of health effects, adverse health outcomes such as cancers, lung disorders. So it is basically something which is totally unacceptable. While governments are working and setting policies to make it difficult for smokers to smoke in public places, indoor public spaces, it's also important that the countries and people, societal shifts take place so that we don't have exposure to secondhand smoke in private spaces. At the moment, we have only 74 countries which have 100% smoke-free, and we need to do more.
Roselle Feria, Washington, D.C. Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Renowned German artist Dennis Joseph Message has made a powerful statement against sexual abuse scandals within the Catholic Church. Positioned in front of Cologne Cathedral, Message's installation features 333 child mannequins titled "Shattered Souls in a Sea of Silence." These haunting silhouettes, swathed in pink and white fabric, extend their right arms towards the cathedral, symbolizing their plea for justice amidst the shadows of abuse. The artist's intention is to draw public attention to the silent cries of abused children seeking justice for their tormented souls. The poignant display, consisting of 333 small mannequins, drapes innocence and the colors of the Curia, serving as a poignant reminder. This installation will grace the cathedral's surroundings until August 6, coinciding with World Youth Day. Germany's Catholic Church has already faced significant challenges, evident in the staggering numbers. Over 500,000 individuals left the Catholic Church in 2022, a statistics announced by the country's Bishops' Conference in June. This marked an increase from the previous year, continuing a trend sparked by the ongoing wave of sexual abuse scandals. The Catholic Church has been marred by disturbing allegations of predatory priests preying on children and youths, shattering the trust of their congregations. As always, I'll end the week on a thoughtful note. Our ability to look back and smile at our past is proof that God's plan is to keep us moving forward. This has been Eagle News International. I'm Alma Angela. Stay alert, stay informed, because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.